What's up, everybody? Azariel here for another YuGiOh101 Archetype review, and in this video, I'm going to be doing an Archetype review of the Shinras. This is a new Archetype, a new plant-based Archetype that was revealed in a booster pack that was released on the 16th called Legacy of the Valiant. And this Archetype is very, very unique in terms of they don't play in ways that you would expect a typical archetype to be played. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna explain that as I get along in the video. But for those that may be new to these archetype reviews that I do, normally what I do is that I just go through each of the monsters, each of the non-monster support cards, and afterwards I just go over what seems to be the strategy for the monsters in the archetype, and then I just give you my final thoughts on what I think about the archetype altogether. So, with that being said, let's read up on the small summary that they have up top. Shinra is an archetype of plant-type monsters that debuted in Legacy of the Valiant, as I said before. The word Shinra is shortened version of Shinra Bansho, meaning all things in nature, hence their plant-like motif. The Shinras, they have a, how can I put it? All of the Shinras have an effect where they can reveal a number of cards from the top of your deck, and if they're plant-type monsters, they get sent to the graveyard. Now, this is good for them because they have their effects activated by doing such thing. You have to reveal them in the deck, and then they have to be sent to the graveyard in order for their effects to activate. And their effects range from destroying one monster, one spell or trap card on the field, special summoning, etc., etc., as you will see when I go over the other monsters in the archetype. And these monsters levels range from 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 8 as of right now. Like this first wave of Shinras, that's what their levels are, from 1 to 8. There are no level 5s in the archetype, and there are no level 7s in the archetype, so just keep that in mind. Because there are going to be some cards that I recommended from experience, you know, and I got to give a special shout out to Dark Kiryu, because me and him, after that last match in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Network Fan Day that you guys can see on my channel for November 22nd, 2013, after that match, me and him were talking about, you know, like just brainstorming as to what cards can come up with, but I'm going to elaborate on that more as the video goes along. So first, let's get started with the monsters, and the first one that I'm going to be taking a look at is Shinra Peacekeeper. I had to turn the music off, so forgive me, but yeah, this is Shinra Peacekeeper. You know, Peacekeeper, peace. You don't get it. Yeah, it's a wind plant effect monster, level 1, attack 400, defense 100. Description: when this card is normal or special summoned, you can reveal the top card of your deck, and if it is a plant type monster, send it to the graveyard, otherwise return it to the bottom of your deck. If a card effect reveals this card in the deck and sends it from there to the graveyard, you can target one level 4 or lower plant type monster in your graveyard, special summon that target. You can only use this effect of Shinra Peacekeeper once per turn. And next up we have Shinra Stuluette. And it is a fire plant effect monster, level 2, attack 100, defense 2000. When this card is flipped face up, you can reveal up to 5 cards from the top of your deck. Send any revealed plant type monsters to the graveyard, and return any remaining cards to the bottom of your deck in any order. If a card effect reveals this card in the deck and sends it from there to the graveyard, you can target one spell or trap card on the field and you can destroy that target. And next up we have Shinra Leaf Flow. Here we go now, here we go. Watch me see Leaf Flow. You don't get it. But yeah, it's Shinra Leaf Flow. It's a water plant effect monster. Level 3 attack 1500, defense 1200. Description: when this card is normal summon, you can reveal up to 2 cards from the top of your deck. Send any revealed plant type monsters to the graveyard and return any remaining cards to the bottom of the deck in any order. If a card effect reveals this card from the deck and sends it from there to the graveyard, you can target one monster on the field, destroy that target. And after this we have Shinra Nightsis. Yeah. Shinra Nightsis is an Earth Plant Effect monster, level 4, attack 1800, defense 1000. I'm so stupid. But card description. When this card is normal summon, you can reveal the top card of your deck, and if it is a plant type monster, send it to the graveyard. Otherwise, return it to the bottom of your deck. If a card effect reveals this card from the deck and sends it from there to the graveyard, you can choose one Shinra monster from your deck and place it on top of your deck. Okay, cool. So this next one up is Shinra Tree Fender Orc with acorns on his chest. And now the fuck was given that day in the forest. It's an Earth Plant Effect monster, level 6, attack 2400, defense 1500. Description: once per turn, you can reveal up to 3 cards from the top of your deck. Send any revealed plant type monsters to the graveyard and return any remaining cards to the bottom of the deck in any order. If a card effect reveals this card from the deck and sends this card from there to the graveyard, you can target one other plant type monster in your graveyard, return that target to the top of the deck. And next up we have Shinra Spirit Tree Regia. It's a fire plant effect monster, level 8, attack 2700, defense 1800. Description: once per turn, you can reveal the top card of your deck, and if it is a plant type monster, send it to the graveyard and draw 1 card. Otherwise, return it to the top of your deck. If a card effect reveals this card in the deck and sends this card from there to the graveyard, look at up to 3 cards from the top of your deck, then return them to the top of the deck in any order. And next up we have Derek Seed, Shinra Morigami Alisi, or Alsei. It is a light plant exceed effect monster, rank 8, attack 2300, defense 3200. Description: 2 level 8 monsters. Once per turn, you can declare 1 card name, reveal the top of your deck. Reveal the top card of your deck, and if it is the declared card, add it to your hand. Otherwise, send that card to the graveyard. If a card is sent from your deck to the graveyard by a card effect, you can detach 1 exceed material from this card, then target 1 card on the field. Place that card on the top or the bottom of the deck. You can only use this effect of Shinra no Morigami Alsei once per turn. We got the final 2 cards coming up here in this first wave of Shinras. First up we have Sacred Shinra Peak, and it's a field spell card. Description: you can send 1 plant type monster you control from your hand to the graveyard. you can send one plant type monster you control or from your hand to the graveyard. Choose one Shinra monster from your deck and place it on the top of your deck. You can only use this effect of Sacred Shinra Peak once per turn. Once per turn during your opponent's end phase, you can reveal the top card of your deck, and if it is a plant type monster, send it to the graveyard. Otherwise, place it on the top or bottom of your deck. And lastly, we have Shinra's Blessing, and it's a normal trap card. Uh, Description: return one card from your hand to either the top or bottom of the deck, and if you do, special summon one Shinra monster from your hand or graveyard. It is unaffected by other card effects during the end phase. Return that monster to either the top or bottom of the deck. So that right there is all of the monsters and the 2 non-monster support cards for the Shinras. So now I'm going to go over what the basic strategy for the archetype seems to be. So first and foremost, let me go back to Shinra Peacekeeper. Let me get back to this one. So we're going to start it off with Shinra Peacekeeper. Let me get a sip of water here. Please forgive me because my throat is kind of sore. So forgive me if I have to, like cough or anything like that. But yeah, so Shinra Peacekeeper, this is like one of the 2 searchers out of the group. Well, not searchers. What the hell am I saying? This card special summons Shinras that are level 4 or lower, which the only targets would be itself, Stuluette, Leaf Flow, and Nicesis. So just to let you guys see those cards, Shinra Stuluette is Peacekeeper itself. Stuluette, Leaf Flow, and Nicesis would be this card's only targets. If they're in the graveyard, these are the only ones that you can use these on. Now, just for, I guess you can say, attack purposes, you would want to get Shinra Nicesis out on the field. But the one that can really take advantage of that special summon is another Peacekeeper. So that would be, yeah, like the only one that will be able to really take advantage of that special summon is another Peacekeeper, because it has its effect activated when it's either normal or special summon. So that right there leads you to activate that effect to reveal that top card in your deck to see if it's going to be a Shinra, and if not, of course, you send it back to the bottom of the deck, and that's pretty much it for this thing. Just in terms of the archetype and the way that they operate, Shinra Stuluette is like one of the best, level 4 or lower, monsters that you would actually want in your hand, because this card needs to be set like before its effect can be activated, and you pretty much get the most out of this card again from the level 4 or lower monsters. But I think this card reveals the most cards out of all of the monsters that go in the main deck. Yeah, you can reveal up to 5 cards from the top of your deck, and any revealed monsters get sent to the graveyard. Any revealed plant type monsters get sent to the graveyard, so that would be good. Also, it has an MST like effect, which doesn't hurt anybody except your opponent. And next up we have Leaf Flow. Its effects is that if a card, um, this is your like 1-for-1 monster destroyer. So between Stulawet and Leaf Flow, you have ammo to destroy your opponent's monsters and their spells and traps. On top of the fact that you may be running like Mystical Space Typhoon, and oh man, they got noise in the background. My nephew crying, so I'm trying to focus on this, along with a sore throat, mind you. So yeah, so this is gonna be like one of your main attackers. You know what I mean? Because on top of the fact that this card has to be normal summon in order for its effect to be activated, it's a level 4 monster with 1800 attack, and which is good. Now, if a card effect reveals this card and sends it from there to the graveyard, you can choose one card from your deck and place it on top of the deck. Now, this is one of the better searchers right here. So you would want to pretty much target this one if you want to have more control as to which Shinra card you want to have, for those other card effects that I'm going to be talking about as well. So again, Peacekeeper searches out itself. Well, it can special summon itself, Stulawet, Leaf Flow, and this. And so these will be your 4 targets for Peacekeeper's effect. With Stulawet and Leaf Flow, they like work best either way. Either if when they're normal summon or flip faced up with Stool, you'll be able to reveal a good number of cards from the top of your deck and see if there's any plant types. And these two are your spell and trap and monster destroyers. And like with Nice Assist, it searches out any Shinra card that you want. That means field spell, trap, or monster. And mind you, it doesn't have any type of level restrictions as to what monster you can like search out. So that's pretty helpful, especially when it comes to these next 2 monsters. Um, you have a Shinra Tree Finder. Oh, sorry. Like they're making a lot of noise in the back, so forgive me if this isn't like quote unquote professional. But I got to deal with like a lot of noises and this sore throat, so it's kind of like working against me, man. Yeah, but yeah, I got to stay focused, pay attention to what the hell I'm doing, and give you guys the best video I can get with my surroundings. Anyway, it's a Tree Finder Orc. This card, it lets you recycle your Shinras that are in your graveyard, and by placing them on top of the deck, again, that sets you up for the effect of the field spell card. And this is one of the few cards within this first wave of the Shinra monsters that allows you to do that. So this is something that you really want to take advantage of. And I'm gonna speak on a field spell card a bit more when I get to it. But this card, it allows you to reveal up to 3 cards, so that's helpful. So with Leaf Flow, but it's good that this isn't the one that reveals like the most, because it is level 6 and it is not too difficult to get on the field, but you do need like a tribute. And with the like with the way these Shinras operate, it's like, like a level 6 monster isn't that easy to get on the field, as of right now. Um, there's now, mind you, when I say right now, I'm just talking about the monsters within the archetype and the cards that are just in the archetype itself. I'm not talking about any other outside card right now. So just with the archetype alone, it's not easy to get. It's not too easy to get them on the field. But there is the card that can help with that. And I'm gonna speak on that one after this one. Um, Shinra Tree Spirit. Now this is gonna be your draw power right here, and ironically enough, this is like the highest level main deck monster. Uh, at the moment, and but not only do you get to, like reveal the top card of your deck and send that plant type monster from your deck to the graveyard, after that monster's been revealed, but you also gain some draw power from that. So that can be like some extra incentive for you to use this card's effect. So that's always helpful to have that one card draw. Um, Otherwise, you can return it to the bottom of your deck, which the other Shinras do as well, which is helpful so that if there are any dead draws amongst those cards that are revealed, at least you won't have to worry about them. You know what I mean? For a minute, because with the way this archetype operates, you want to make sure that you reveal a plant type monster. So that actually, under normal circumstances, it would be to your disadvantage to like do something like that, but this helps them out a lot more than people may think. So on top of that, you can organize your cards with this monster right here, which is again helpful for Shinra Sacred Peak. But let me do the Succeed monster. Let me go over the Succeed monster one more time. Now with this card, of course, you can reveal uh, the top card of your deck by declaring one card name, and if it is said card, then you can add it to your hand. So this is a helpful boost to the Shinras, along with all their other mischief, and again, just the way the archetype works. This is actually helpful. It's just sad that it ends up being an Exceed monster, but nevertheless, in my opinion, yes, I do think it's sad that this ended up being an Exceed monster, but I guess they wanted to add an Exceed and they wanted to give you more, incentive to play it. And like the only Shinra that, of course, that can be used to do this is with Spirit Tree. So you would have to find a way to get two Spirit Trees. Again, I'm not talking about any outside cards as of right now. That's going to come in the final, like thoughts of the archetype. But just within the confines of the archetype itself, Spirit Tree would be your only monster that you would be able to use for this. And this card, it is helpful, because again, along with the other effects that allow you to place cards on the top of your deck in any order, you can easily choose the correct card with this monster card's effect, and you'll be able to add it to your hand. Not only that, but it also bounces cards on the field back to that player's hand or deck. I mean, not to their hand, but to the top or the bottom of their deck. So that's some other great things with this card. It bounces cards. So if your opponent has that one card that you may be curious about or you feel may be troublesome, you can just bounce it right back to the bottom or the top of the deck and force them to or like have to reuse it. You know what I'm saying? And like the best case scenario, it's a monster that had a very unique summoning condition, and you can just bounce it back, and saying like that'll hurt them. So yeah, that's that. So on to the non-monster cards. So we have Shinra Sacred Peak. Now this one allows you to send your plants from your hand or the graveyard, from your hand or your side of the field to the graveyard. Now, just to maintain field advantage, you may want to do the monster cards from your hand, but if you feel like that there's a monster on your field whose effects have already been used, then you might want to choose that one. So it really just, like, it's really just based on the situation. And with cards like the Shinras, which I'm going to speak about in my final thoughts as well, you have to be careful with how many times you use their effects at once. You know what I mean? You really have to be careful how you use their effects, because it can really hurt you. You know, again, I know that from experience. Like, this archetype can really hurt you. Um, but again, you have several cards that can use this field spell's um, effect. It says right here, once per turn during your opponent's end phase, you can reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a plant type monster, send it to the graveyard. Otherwise, place it to place it on the top or bottom of your deck. And in between this field spell card and the Exceed monster, you would be able to pick like a plant type monster from the top of your deck. You know, along with the other monsters effects, you should be able to set yourself up to use those effects that allow you to, you know, choose a plant. Choose to it. Backtrack. You should be able to put a plant type monster on top of the deck for this card's effect and for the Exceed monster's effect. So it really works towards your favor to do that. Um, in each of the effects, of course, you can only use once per turn. And this card right here, the Trap. Now, this is going to be your best option for getting that level six Orc and Spirit Tree on the field. It says you can return one card from your hand to either the top or bottom of the deck, and if you do, special summon one Shinra monster from your hand or graveyard. It is unaffected by other card effects during the end phase. Return that monster to the top or the bottom of the deck. Now, again, like, there's no limit on how many of these can be used, you know, in the same turn. And considering that Spirit Tree is the only monster that can be in the monster and archetype that can exceed, that can be used for the Exceed summon of their Exceed monster, I think that is a good thing, you know, because if Spirit Tree is your only option, you know what I mean, within the confines of the archetype, there are no other cards that can special summon Spirit Tree. So how do you expect to get two of those on the field, you know, again, within the confines of the archetype? I have to keep saying that because I know somebody's going to be like, oh, well, you can use this and that. I'm not talking about cards outside of the archetype yet. You know, that's coming later. You know, so within the circumference of the Shinra's archetype, there is nothing else that can be used to special summon those higher level Shinras, which is Orc and Spirit Tree at the moment. So it's good that you'll be able to use this multiple times in the same turn. So if you have two Shinra blessings and you got like multiple copies of Spirit Tree in your hand, you can just use this. You know, so that's helpful. Again, it allows you to return cards from the top. It allows you to return cards to the top of your build, which can be used, you know, which can set you up for the effect for the Exceed monster Elsie, as well as the effect of the field spell, which is really good. So you should always keep that in mind. Uh, so between blessing, um, this exceed monster. So between blessing, the exceed monster, uh, this field spell, Spiritry Regia, Orc. I think Orc does it as well. Yeah, to the top of the deck, and then cards like Nice Assist. Between those monsters, you should be able to set yourself up a pretty good loop. Again, if used correctly. So again, Peacekeeper can special summon Stool, Leaf Flow, Knight's Assist, and those would be your only targets. But special summoning another Peacekeeper um, would be like the best option if you're trying to activate its effect again. Which probably the reason why they have like multiple ones in the card artwork, like they just help themselves. Like really, they only help themselves. I think it would have been helpful if they would have had a Shinra, or one of the things that would probably help this archetype, if there was a Shinra that had its effect activated that was level 4 or lower, but that if it was destroyed by battle, like this would help cards like Peacekeeper out a lot, because that way it would actually have more than one target to actually use its effect on that can benefit from it. Because like Stool, Leaf Flow, and Nice Assist, they can't benefit from being special summoned like the way Peacekeeper can. At least if a monster like that was in the archetype, you'll be able to have that monster get destroyed by your opponent and then have its effect activated. That would be an actual target for it. Because like you just don't want to just throw the monsters out there on the field like that. Just in terms of activating their effects now. Um, with Stool, it benefits you to have this in your hand and to set it on the field, because you want to get the most, you know what I'm saying, like the most card reveals that you can get. So Stool would be that one card that you would want to play the most out of the other ones. With Leaf Flow, it's pretty much like the exact same thing with Nice Assist. Fairly easy to, like very easy to activate their effects so that you can get those card reveals. And with Nice Assist, of course, with this card, like you're able to pick and choose which Shinras that you want to use. And Orc, it can recycle your Shinras, or or yeah, it can recycle your Shinras and place them on the top of the deck along with Spirit Tree, which can give you draw power, as well as organize the top 3 cards of your deck in any order. Elsie, which you can obviously set yourself up to know to know what the top card is going to be, as well as bounce cards on your opponent's side. And with and all of this, along with blessing, just sets yourself. It really just sets you up for having those plants at the very top of the build. So that's pretty much how this archetype works. They have to be the plants, the monsters have to be revealed first in order to be. The monsters have to be revealed first and then sent to the graveyard in order for their effects to activate. So you have to remember that when using these. Now, as I said in the beginning, this is not your typical archetype that you see in the game. Normally with an archetype, you could just spam their those monsters' effects and really not have too much of a worry. With this first wave of monsters, it benefits you not to do that as much without proper knowledge as to when to do it. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to get out of hand, because then you'll be left with an empty field and an empty hand, and you'll just be assed out. You know, case in point, watch that duel that I mentioned. Let me straighten this out. You want to watch that duel from my fan day event on Dueling Network on November 22nd, 2013. That very last duel, it's a prime example of why you don't want to spam an effect that you would normally be able to do with any other archetype in the game, like literally. Because you will be asked out, you will be left without a field, and you will be left without a graveyard. So I won't say that this first wave of Shinras does nothing. I'm just gonna say that it really takes a lot of patience with this build and knowing when to use their effects in order to use them effectively. You know, you can't, once again, like, you can't spam their effects and hope to have something happen for you. It's not going to work. You're going to end up, leaving yourself defenseless. And that's the one thing you do not want. Now, for the other cards that can actually work with this, again, shouts out to Dark Kiryu, because after our match we actually spoke on this, and he brought up Monster Gate. And at first I was like, oh yeah, Monster Gate would work, but then again, it wouldn't, because not only does it not only does it not benefit the Shinra's monsters, but you have to tribute a monster, and then you have to reveal cards in your deck until you come up with a monster that can be special summoned, and then you special summon it to your side of the field. However, as I told him, reasoning would work perfectly, because again, the Shinras have their effects activated by being revealed, then being sent to the graveyard, and there is not a more perfect card that matches their playstyle than reasoning. Reasoning is the best spell card in every possible way, because the way reasoning works, now I want you to follow me here. Again, the Shinras have their effects activated by being revealed, then being sent to the graveyard. That's how their effects activate. With reasoning, when the card is activated, your opponent picks a monster level, and then you reveal cards until a monster shows up that can be special summoned. Now, if the monster that is revealed is not the level that your opponent called out, you get to special summon that monster to your side of the field. However, if that monster that is revealed is the level that your opponent called out, then it gets sent to the graveyard. See what I mean? So it just works right there within the confines of the archetype. Another thing that this archetype can use is an attack boost. And of course, if you have a bunch of plants in your graveyard and you need that special summon, I felt a card like Plant Food Chain works well with this as well, because if you need that attack boost, you know what I mean, like Plant Food Chain not only acts as an attack booster, but it also acts as a monster reborn for the plants. And the way Plant Food Chain works is that it equips to a plant type monster on your side of the field, and if it gets destroyed while equipped to a monster, then you get to special summon a monster from your graveyard. And from what I can remember, there is no level restrictions on that. So this is good for targeting cards like Orc and Spirit Tree as well. So reasoning, Plant Food Chain. Of course, you can use cards like Solidarity, which can give you an attack boost as well, if you're running nothing but plants, that is. But of course, there's cards like Rose Archer, which is a warrior type monster, by the way, and Twilight Rose Knight, which can, help if you're trying to run like some type of synchro build, you know, and with cards like Rose Witch, this card can protect your plants. If you control a plant type monster, you can send that card from your hand to the graveyard, and if a trap card gets activated, you can send Rose Archer from your hand to the graveyard while you control a plant type monster. And that trap card will be negated and destroyed. So right now so that's pretty much it. I don't really look at the card suggestions anytime I do something like this. Simply because like I just always made a habit out of looking at of just of just playing the game just based on my own experience. But I guess just for the sake of the video in this card review, I would like to see if they had any other cards out there that I didn't mention, because again, like, this is a very unique archetype, and I think it will be interesting in seeing what this like these list of cards that they have recommended for use. So they have Dandelion Spore, Plague Spreader Zombie, again for what I'm saying, for those synchro monsters. Lone Fire Blossom, of course, like that's a gimme. Lord Poison, again, that's a gimme. Both of these can special summon, what I'm saying, your plant type monsters. Of course, they should be able to mix in with the Naturias, considering that they are also a insect plant type build. Well, not necessarily. Well, that archetype is based on plants as well as insects, so you should be able to get some type of mixture of cards out of that. Evil Swarm and Dragora. What does this do? Because I haven't looked at. Oh, right, it's a plant, so that's extra plant. Extra plants you can use in order to exceed summon. I completely forgot about that card. Cards like Revival Rose, which I believe, when if a level's 5, okay, so if you have this in your graveyard and your Orc or your Regia gets destroyed, you'll be able to have something on the field at least. So that's something you can benefit off. And you also have all of the plant princesses, which are all level 8 monsters, by the way. So again, you can use them. You can use them for the exceed summon. If you need it. Phoenixian Cluster Amaryllis. I don't think this is too good of a recommendation, considering that you need its counterpart in order to even special summon it. I mean, like, it's not hard to get on the field, but still, like, you really need like another monster on the field in order to special summon that. And just in terms of having like a lot of the higher level plants in your build, you would want to run this. You know what I'm saying? Because it can help by nullifying all the other effects of all the other face-up cards on the field, which can be helpful in obvious ways. Why they have Malefic Stardust Dragon. There's Queen of Thorns, Splendid Rose, Black Rose Dragon, whatever, Stardust Dragon. Fuck both of those damn cards with a pool stick. Fairy Inguar, which is a card that came in Legacy of the Valiant as well. And I think this bounces cards. Yeah, it returns all of the cards. And, so here's an exceed target for Orc, which is good. But it takes 3 level 6 monsters, so you would need all 3 Orcs on the field in order to even exceed summon this thing. So I don't know how I feel about this one. I'd rather just use cards like Gauntlet Shooter, and Melee of the Trees. I don't think this is too good either, because uh, 2 level 3 Earth monsters. Let me see, 2 level 3 Earth monsters. Um, it said you can detach 1 Exceed material from this card and activate one of these effects. Send 1 plant-type monster from your deck to the graveyard. Target 1 plant-type monster in your graveyard. Special summon that target and face-up defense position. Like, I understand why they would want to think that this would be good, but this is the only level 3 within the archetype, and it's water. You have to use earth plants in order to use that, so you wouldn't be able to get that out with this. And then on top of that, Melee's effect, it just sends plants to the graveyard. You know what I mean? It just sends them to the graveyard, which can set you up for some of the other monsters' effects within the archetype, but it doesn't activate their effects saying, like, by itself. So I don't know if this is a good suggestion to use Melee. But again, it does set you up. Of course, Queen of the Night. Again, if you're running, like multiple level 8 monsters in your build, this is good because it can, something like stun your opponent's spells and traps. Again, with its other effects, target 1 plant-type monster on the field, change that target to face down defense position, something like, which is good for stool, because it has its effect activated by being flip face up, so that's really good. Like, the only issue is that it takes 3 level 8 monsters, of course, so you would have to find a way to get 3 level 8 monsters on the field, which shouldn't be too hard with cards like Miracle Fertilizer. Well, I guess in that regard, something like Melee would be good, but again, if you're just running pure Shinras, something like with a mixture of like very few other cards out there, I don't know, because Melee needs Earth monsters, and let's see, this is copy plan is a win. I'm trying to think like what other. Well, actually, Magical Merchant. Now that's another good one. Magical Merchant is another good one because pick up cards from the top of your deck until you pick up spell or trap cards. Add that card to your hand, send the remaining cards to the graveyard. So this can activate multiple monster effects. So this could be helpful. Not to mention that there could be a spell or a trap card you may need, such as Peak or Blessing. And so, yeah, like Magical Merchant is a good recommendation. That's really good. So let's look at the spells. Yeah, Mountain, obviously, Advanced Draw. Let's look at what this does. Tribute 1 face-up level 8 or higher monster, draw 2 cards. That's whatever. Archfiend's Oath, Oath, Archfiend's Oath. Let's see. Once per turn, paying 500. Once per turn, you can pay 500 life points. Declare 1 card name. Pick up the top card of your deck and sit. Pick if what the hell? If the card name is the one you declared, add it to your hand. If not, I mean, this is a good substitute for the Exceed monster. Seeing that it could possibly be a challenge to get on the field. This is an alternate way for you to use that effect. So that's good. Fragrant Storm. Now this is good. Because you can destroy 1 plant-type monster on the field. But the thing with me is, I don't use Fragrant Storm unless I have cards like Ivy Shackles that can turn my opponent's monsters into plants as well. So that way you can take advantage of those monsters being plants and not, having your monsters destroyed. So I wonder if the trap recommendations have cards like Ivy Shackles in them. But when a plant type, you can destroy 1 face-up plant-type monster on the field, and you gain some draw power from that. And if the monster that you draw is a plant, you're able to, just continue drawing plants. Cards like 1 for 1, of course. Cards for 1 for 1 is good for Peacekeeper. Spellbook Organization, Trade-In, Miracle Fertilizer. This is good. Oh, Reasoning. Okay, so they did give that. Pot of Avarice or whatever. Fuck that card. It's gone. Um, Starlight Rose. So they do not mention uh uh something called like Ivy Shackles. You know, I don't know if you want to destroy your own monsters. Not me. Like I wouldn't. Like I never run Fragrance Storm without running Ivy Shackles, because that card is just meant to work with that one. You know what I mean? Uh, Again, like the way the Shinras operate, I don't think you would want to destroy your own monsters, not unless you had some plan to special summon them from the graveyard, soon. But Transmigration and Privacy, Starlight Road for protection. We all know what that does. That doesn't help the archetype, like the monsters within the archetype itself, but it does protect your like it does, but it can protect your back row. Wait a minute. Also, Stardust Dragon is a level 8, so this actually can help with the Exceed summon of their Exceed monster. Okay, so that is a wise decision. Target 2 cards in your graveyard, so this can help with uh, recycling your plants. Um, Let me see what Trade-In does. Discard one level 8. So if you're running multiple level 8s, obviously you want to run, you know, cards like Spirit Tree and any of the other plant princesses. Then you would want to, saying, like, have that so that you can have some draw power. You don't want to be stuck with a bunch of level 8s in your hand and not being able to summon them. Of course, we'll call it a haunted. That's the best thing. And with Mistake, I guess if you're worried about your opponent, something like being able to search, you should be able to do that. I mean, have this card, but I don't know. Like, I don't really bother with Mistake too much. But yeah, man, that's pretty much it. Like I said, like the one major gripe I have is that, well, like this, well, like the one major thing about the archetype, I don't know why I say gripe, is that you have to be careful. You know, this isn't like any other archetype where you can just freely spam their moves and you don't have to worry about too much. You could take a big loss if you try to abuse these monster card effects. Now, it's some other cards again. I stand by what I said earlier. If they release a Shinra that can have an effect that can be activated by it being uh, destroyed by battle or by a card effect, I think that would be helpful, and that can be um, another target for Peacekeeper's effect. So that would be helpful right there. But yeah, only time will tell. So I hope you guys enjoyed this archetype review. I know the video was long, but I tried to be as um, elaborative as I possibly could with the various distractions that I had. You guys didn't hear it, but there were like ads playing on the side at random, and it kind of threw me off a bit, as well as me having this sore throat. So yeah, like the elements were working against me, but I did say I was going to do this, and absolutely I came through for you guys. So thanks to all those who watched. And so have you guys played with the archetype? So like, what do you think of them? And are there any cards that you would like to see be made for the archetype that you think would be helpful? Again, I already gave my suggestion with a monster with a Shinra that can be destroyed by battle or by card effect and have an effect activated. That would be good for Peacekeeper. That way you don't have to just summon itself like in order to really get something out of that special summon. But you know, that's just my opinion. But thank you guys for watching, and peace. See you guys for another Yu-Gi-Oh 101 video.